for Luong Duc Thien, it's time to sign off. This is his last match.
Jayson Shaw wins the lag. The first rack. Jayson Shaw to break.
Yeah, nice break off there. Didn't add the extension to the cue there. I haven't really watched Jayson play today, so I wonder if that's a change or maybe something a little experimental going into what will be the final 10 players. Don't really see him as having too many problems with the break this week so far.
I know he's been working with Steve Feeney, the site right coach. I think I saw Steve here today, so maybe it's a result of some conversation they've been having.
Yeah, it's amazing in today's game how many things are much more picked apart and really looked through, and that's just like Jayson having the knowledge to go to that man and try and do some things before this event, especially pretty smart. Not saying the Premier League isn't a big event, but it isn't quite the World 9-Ball Championships. He gets to put in a lot of matches, gets a lot of time with what they've worked on in some pressure moments.
Well, we've seen a number of golden breaks here this evening, but apart from those, that's about the quickest rack we've seen in the whole tournament. Jayson Shaw racing away with it, and he leads Luong Duc Thien 1-0. So as I said, this is Luong Duc Thien's last match. He's got 5 wins so far. He can move above Chris Melling and claim 11th place, which makes a small difference in terms of prize money. What have you made of the man from Vietnam this week?
Well, I made a lot of them, actually. I'm very impressed with many things, and started off a little rough, a little bit like the ladies in the event, that maybe getting a little comfortable, but a lot of talent. I was surprised he was 30 years old. I would have guessed a lot closer to 20 years old, but very nice guy when I got to talk to him. And I'll tell you, there were many other players, because he was in here practicing a lot. And I had discussions with that were very impressed with his game as well. So I think we're going to see a lot more from him in the future.
Yeah, he got himself back into contention to get through when he made a really good start to yesterday. He beat Chris Melling and Earl Strickland back-to-back. Only lost 1 rack in total in those 2 matches, but then lost to Skylar Woodward last night and beaten by Chu Chi Yu already today. So this will be his swan song in this event.
He's got a 2-9 combination that's playable. I think the 7 isn't covering up the pocket or the path to the pocket. Figure probably a safety though, and you never know. He may play the combo. Looks like he's going to bank the 2 away and kind of cross over the 9 and back, maybe behind the 9. Oh, he can cut it in. Wow, what a shot. That's one thing I really liked what I've seen from him. He stayed very aggressive throughout the event. Sometimes it didn't work out, and more so at the beginning. And he's had a lot of losses here. You know, I would say 2 or 3 of them, again, trying to get comfortable. But then again, he's playing the best players in the world. So it's not like you have to play bad to lose sometimes. It's just it's a matter of, we've seen a lot of quality matches by both opponents. Just somebody's got to move on.
He's generally been playing guys much, much higher than him in the rankings. He's number 128 in the world, and when you consider at the start of 2023, he wasn't even in the top 200. That shows you what a big leap forward this is for him to be playing in this sort of company. Part of a real pool boom that's going on in Vietnam at the moment. A break and run from Shaw in the opening rack. Long responds in kind, and that's why it's 1-all. Still to come, Sanjin Pelovanovic against Shane Van Boning. If Pelovanovic wins that, he'll finish with 13 wins from his 15 matches, and that would equal the record, albeit in the very brief history of this tournament so far, set last year by Joshua Filler.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I mean, Thien certainly capable of beating Jayson in this spot. That would end Jayson with 10 wins. And again, Skyler, after losing his last, he was a little upset about it.
One rack each.
He knows he needs to improve, so he plays Oi later. Sanjin wins that match. He could have probably as big a lead as this event has seen going into the final 10 with a three match win advantage over the rest of the field.
Yeah, Fuller was 2 clear of the rest going into the second phase last year. And also, talking of last year, it ended up being 15. That was the target at the end of phase 2. But that was a bit of an unusual situation because Omar Al Shaheen lost 8 of his 9 matches. So that perhaps raised the bar in terms of how many matches you needed to win to get through. I think looking at it this time, 14 or maybe even 13 could get you through to the final day. Pelovanovic could be on 13 by the end of tonight.
Yeah, and it's just like we talked about with the 16 players. If you have, you know, out of the 10, if you just have one, like you said, like Omar last year that lost, you know, a huge amount of matches percentage-wise, things change quickly. But if you have 2 of those players that do something like that, the number can change drastically as well. So that's why it's still into your own hands, right? You can't worry about everything going on. Just go out and try and play your best. Another quick rack.
Yeah, you can't see better quality 9-ball than this. It's unlikely you could see much faster 9-ball than this, because in no time at all, we've arrived at the first short interval with Jayson Shaw leading by 2 racks to 1.
Shaw wins the rack.
Jayson Shaw is safely through to the next phase of the Premier League, but no let up at all from him in his performance in this match so far. They're both playing well, it seems. Shaw leads, though, 2-1.
One catching the point and running to the upper corner. Interesting, the 2 and 9 in a very similar position as his first break off. Don't think he's going to go for the cut here, though. Should become some kind of soft pass across the 2, bringing the cue ball behind the 5-7. Nice effort. Got the 2 past the side, so the jump shot difficult. Don't think you're going to see Jayson go to the air with the 5 covered up. Wants to make sure he doesn't lose the cue ball here and surrender ball in hand. 4-2 to 5 can be very difficult later in the rack. It's got to go a little bit. Cue ball or 2 ball, and he did surrender ball in hand. And I don't think he got too cute with the shot there. Some might say that, just a little lacking on speed. And I think Jayson really good at those containing kick shots at the right moments. So at the end is recognized quickly as if he gets on the 4 in the right manner, he can kind of push forward past the 8 for short side position on the 5 for the lower left corner. It's a touchy position shot, even though the 4's in a good spot. You can be off by like an inch, and it could make you to where you just can't get position. I think he's gotten pretty perfect here, though. Like to stay off the rail, but first things first is getting shape on the 5.
He made it to the single elimination stage of the World Championship in Poland last month and gave John Morra a good contest. Pushed him to 11-8. Morra, of course, went on then to beat Shaw in the next round.
Yeah, and John's in fine form. I'll tell you, it may have been the match of the tournament, or one of them for sure, between him and Mario He, for him to have to exit that event.
So Soa over on table 2 is 3 balls away from beating Earl Strickland 5-1. Well, here on one, the high quality continues. And for the second time, Luong Duc Thien has drawn level at 2 apiece. And let's see the final moments of this Premier League for both of these players. They both went into this match knowing they wouldn't be going through to the next phase. So Soa is going to avoid finishing bottom. Chu Chi Yu will drop to last place, having won 3 of her 15 matches. So Soa is going to end the week with 4 wins. Memorable campaign for her. She's done about as well as she could have hoped, I think. She's beaten some very good players. Conrad Yushashin, Albin Ocean most notably, and Chris Melling. And she's finished off with a win over one of the greatest of all time.
Yeah, I was thinking about that, what you had mentioned earlier about players, you know, getting the privilege of playing Earl, and
You played really well. Scores are tied.
I think that was definitely one of the cases there. You could see a big smile on her face as they shook hands.
Yeah, Earl Strickland hasn't exited every tournament in his career with a smile on his face, but he did there, and he's been great to have around this week.
Yeah, it's been a roller coaster of sorts for Earl this week, but I think he was happy to be here to play, and he gave it his all. It just fell a little short. We'll see what Jayson, who's a very creative player, sees a lot of shots, so I'm interested to see what he plays here. He can push through softly on the 3 using the 4. Good effort here. And the reason why this is so much better is even if you leave a little bit of a piece of this ball, which he didn't, your opponent's going to have to knock this in and gather shape on the pink 4 all the way back up the table.
Extension call.
Well, there you go. Well, he couldn't hit that any better if he wasn't snookered, Michael. Just shoot straight at the ball.
Looking at the implications of that So-So a win, as I said, it means she won't finish bottom. Chu Chi Yu take that position. But Soa now moves on to 4 wins to finish with, and her racks difference is -23. Strickland also ends on 4 wins, but his racks difference now goes to -24. So she'll actually not only have beaten Earl Strickland, she'll have finished above him in the table.
Yeah, and she'll look back at that, and I think just the match itself was probably the highlight for her.
Yeah, I think so. And she's only 21 years of age, remember, so she's really been one of the players who's made a name for herself this week in Leicester. Much more to come, to be sure. Well, every rack so far in this match has been won by the breaking player. Until now, Luong Duc Thien leads for the first time at 3-2.
Wins the rack.
Well, very swiftly back into it over on the other table. Naoki Oi against Skylar Woodward. They're lagging at the moment. Oi has got 10 wins. Woodward has got 7. It's the last match for both of them in this opening phase.
The first rack, Skylar Woodward to break.
And as we keep reminding you, if you want to watch any of the Table 2 action at any point of the tournament, Matchroom Multisport YouTube is where you can do just that. Luong Duc Thien has broken that pattern of every rack going with the break, and he's got the break himself now in Rack 6.
Rack 6. Luong Duc Thien to break. Leading 3 racks to 2.
He's playing for position as well. If he wins this match, he'll go above Chris Melling and claim 11th spot.
Oh, he's going to love this opener here on the 2-ball. 3 near. All the work is at the bottom end of the table, so always tricky going into the side pocket from different angles. So he's got to pay attention to this first shot, but past that, he really should clear this and take a 2-game lead.
So much potential for pool in Vietnam, producing a number of very good players. We saw Luong Duc Thien and the impact he made at the World Championship last month. And it's a very big country, Vietnam. It's one of the biggest in the world, population of about 100 million. And it's not a country with much history of success on the international sporting stage. So one of their pool players comes through and becomes one of the best in the world. You would imagine that's going to get huge attention back home.
Yeah, absolutely. And even this, you know, like you said, the bigger countries, the smaller countries are very much like that, always searching for some type of champion in some sport or another. And if they find that, they you know, get right on the bus and bandwagon and support it. I think you're going to see many countries start to follow pool a little more these days.
Well, you look at the field for any of those big field events that we have now, and it's like one of the big tennis events. It's so global.
Luong Duc Thien wins.
Another good rack then for Luong Duc Thien. He was 2-1 down, but 3 in a row. He leads Jayson Shaw 4-2. Luong Duc Thien playing very nicely here as he says goodbye to this year's Premier League. He won't be going through to the next phase, but he may leave on a very high note. He leads Jayson Shaw 4-2.
4 racks to 2.
Well, the cue ball is going to take that spin and surrender ball in hand and possibly a 2-9 combo. This is a runnable table as well, and Thien has really played perfect in this match pretty much. Jayson has played very well also. Just a little bit of a mistake on that kick shot earlier. I think that was it. Played a nice safety that Thien made a great jump shot and ran out behind. So just as I spoke, his first mistake here on a positional shot. He will attack, I think, and have a good chance of making the 9 as well. Going to end up for the cross side bank. The 6-9 got pretty ugly though. The 5's near it though, so I think he still stays offensive, trying to run out.
Shaw loses this match, as seems increasingly possible. It will have been a very disappointing day for him. He'll have played 3 and lost them all, and okay, he was safe for getting through to the next phase anyway, but of course now it's all about taking forward as many wins as you can. So effectively a wasted day for him. Comes away with none out of 3, having won 6 in a row before that over the last couple of days.
Well, that's surprising that he didn't get into those balls, the 6-9, and the way he was coming into him, maybe tried to get a little too much speed. Just, you got to remember, when the balls are out in the center of the table, away from the rail, doesn't take much to open them. He's going to, I guess he's going for the cross corner bank. Doesn't appear a safety there.
Foul stroke. Ball in hand. Please start the clock.
Well, that is probably going to result in his sequence of winning racks being snapped. Good news for Luong, though, is that he'll still have the break in the next rack. Jayson Shaw might have felt his Friday action was coming to an end.
Jayson Shaw wins the rack.
But he'll still have one more rack to play, at least. He closes to 4-3. Skylar Woodward has taken the opening rack on the other table against Naoki Oi. Look at that, and it's still a stage 1 match, but really, effectively, it's part of stage 2 now, because I'm saying all the wins will carry forward. Before we can win that and get to 11, you would look at it and think he might only need to win perhaps 3 of his 9 matches in phase 2 to get to the last day.
Yeah, all these players, though, they really have no let up in them. Even the players that have been qualified now for some time, you can see them over there practicing between matches and getting as much time on the table as they can.
The end to break. On the hill, leaving 4 racks to 3.
Still on the hill, but this time with the break.
Well, the cue ball did come clear, so a shot on the 3. Not easy, but definitely one he's a big favorite and he'll certainly attack with. He's just got to make a little decision with the cue ball, just because the black 8 is kind of disrupting at least one of the natural paths with a high ball. So he may stun this 2 rails towards the center of the table. Makes this one I like his chances. It's got to slow down just a little bit, but should be okay.
I think it's fair to say he'll have come into this tournament more in hope than expectation. Would have been absolutely delighted to get an invite into this sort of company. He's had his moments. Beat So-Soa, that was his only win in his first 4 matches. Overcame Khalid Al-Ghamdi. Alex Pagulayan he beat as well. That was perhaps his best result. Earl Strickland, perhaps his most memorable, given Strickland's status in the game. He also beat Chris Melling without losing a rack. Back-to-back defeats in his last 2 matches. He's just a few balls away now from finishing on a high. He can come away from here with 6 wins out of 15 in this sort of company. He'll have plenty of confidence to take forward for the rest of the year, which includes the opportunity to play for world ranking points in his home country in May at the Vietnam Open, part of the Asian Tour. And it is all over now. It's going to be his 6th win, and arguably his best performance of the entire tournament. Saving it for last.
Luong Duc Thien wins the match.
He wins by 5 racks to 3. Disappointing day for Jayson Shaw. He's lost all 3 of his matches.